Hello, everyone. I think we are live. I'm in my office tonight, so very different than usual. It's probably going to sound different. Let me know if I need to turn myself. I can turn it up a little bit. And you're going to hear noise from the tank. I've got Tuna, my canary, will be flittering around. So, yeah, definitely different. And oh, I should actually pull up so I can see chat. Make sure we've got audio before we get started. And oops, there we go. We'll give that just a moment. Audio's good. Okay. So tonight I'm going to be critiquing some of the paintings from those of you over on Patreon who submitted. And I want to start out by pointing out that the critique is not something that should leave you feeling like you didn't do a good job or that you're not good at this. We all start at the beginning, every single artist, and every single painting we do is hopefully just getting us one step closer to that goal. So if I say something that hurts your feelings or you're thinking, oh, but I like that part. Well, one, it's art. If you like it, what I have to say means nothing. It's all about what you wanted to create. The tips I'm giving are the tips that I would give my own students if I was teaching in person, and their goal would be, in that case, realism. So there we go. Okay. So tonight we also, things are a little bit different. So the boys are not in here because Tuna, my canary, is free. His door's open. He's eating his salad right now. So you may occasionally see him. He usually doesn't fly over here too much, but I have to have the doors closed because he's loose, which means my greyhounds are not in here. But instead for the night, we have my reef tank. So any super chats will go towards feeding fish tonight. We'll give them some extra treats because who doesn't like fat fish? Okay, so on the first critique that we are going to be starting with, this one comes from Lily, and what she has to say about this, she says, this is my latest oil painting. I did it at the beginning of this year, painted it for myself. And she also mentioned before, and you'll see this on the reference photo over here, the reference photo is a clip from or a screenshot from a movie or a show that she had watched. But she was very clear, this was for her. She's not selling, she's not making prints, so she's not, going against copyright there. This was just, basically fan art at that point. And she said, it was a learning experience in oil. I normally use acrylic, skin tones, and hair and hands. I struggled getting my darks dark enough. I would take a picture with my cell phone, turn it black and white, and go, it's not dark enough over and over. I don't know how many times I repainted the dark areas darker. Many times. I struggled greatly with her hand, struggled with skin tones. I understand using greens and blues, but I have no idea how. We'll come back to a lot of this. A couple of other artists were trying to tell me that her arm under her head was not physically correct, but I used a projector to outline the main parts of her body, then I freehanded after that. Once my underpainting of acrylics was blocked in, all the lines were gone, and then it was freehanding. That was a 20 by 30 on linen, acrylic underpainting, oil on top. I think this is my fourth attempt with portraits and oils. For your fourth attempt, first off, you're doing great. But let's come over here and take a look at the actual photo. So there's a few things that jump out to me on this painting. The first is this area here. Actually, let's pull up a pen. And on this one, that color should work okay. So a couple of things. One, the white that you've used on your, yeah, that'll work. The white that you have used here or on the curtain or whatever is back there, and then the white of the blanket is too bright. Now we pull up your reference photo, which I've already lost. On the reference photo, those areas are white, but that worked because of the overall layout in this. This was a screenshot from a movie or a TV show or whatever, so it wasn't intended as art. So you don't want to look at every photo, every screenshot like that as this is going to be a good complete balance. But it did work because if we look at the white of the curtain and the sheet, it works with the pillows. You've got this nice flow coming through here with that color. On yours, if we go over here, it's very, look at the sheet, look at the, like it is just so, hi, I'm here. A little bit too much hi, I'm here, because that shouldn't be the focus of the painting. So that's the first thing that stood out to me when I look at this. It's like, whoa, there's some, that's white. That's really bright. And the other thing is that the shadows you've done in there, they're all done in blue. That's really a blue gray. Does not make sense at all given the rest of this piece has reds and browns and these very warm tones. So even if you were going to go with that, the overall color theme of the white really should be more cream, not whitish blue. So that's going to be my first tip, as getting the colors are just, it's very all too much. Hi, I'm here. I see that the fish got their first super chat. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, that's that. I don't know why that entertains me. My fish just got a super chat. We'll come back. Let me, before I lose train of thought between critiques, we'll come back over. So anyway, one of the things that I want to point out about this piece that I love, and it may seem like a weird thing, but this pillow, this area of this pillow, oh my gosh, does that look amazing? Like I swear I can hear the silky like fabric of the bottom part of the pillow and the upper part. Like I can feel the velvet like that. Oh my gosh, you did such an amazing, I mean, at first I was like, did she Photoshop that in there? That's too realistic. Like, good job there. The other thing, fourth portrait, you are going to do great with this as long as you stick with it. So that is very, very important. Now, on to some of the other things besides. So those were my initial response. The other initial response when I saw this is, what is going on here? What's happening? It's not as simple as things being dark or light. And actually, this is going to be a long one. So I want to go ahead really quick. Let's get the fish, their super chats really quick. But before we go on, so let's go, hold on one second. I have an ice pack in here for the fish food because they only eat frozen food. They're super spoiled fish. And you'll get to see all of them come out now. You guys hungry? You're always hungry. What am I saying? Of course you're hungry. There you go. Home's for you. There, the scissor tails just came out. There goes the tang. Okay. Thank you so much, Kirsten, for the fish super chat. The boys, I told my husband was trying to guilt trip me on the boys not getting super chat on Wednesday. So for every super chat I get, I agreed with him that I owe the fish, or the boys, the greyhounds, treats for everything the fish get. So they will get some too. Okay. There they go eating. Oh, Wade's out there squeaking a squeaky toy. He's all wound up right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and come on back over here. So now, this area here, this is important because the way that your shadows are, one of the things I love is that I can see what you were looking at. But it's because of the way it was shaded, and this is something that I talk about a lot. You don't want to put highlights or make something brighter for the sake of just, I want highlights here, I'm going to make this brighter. Where is my buttons are, there we go. Because this area right here is so bright, it's just as bright as this, it actually gives the illusion that it's coming out towards the viewer. So it makes her look somewhat deformed in that area, like she's got a weird wow, it turns out I can't say that word. Protrusion. It sticks out weird. You're not here for grammar or pronunciation, apparently. So that is going to be, and also I think that actress has a mosquito bite right there. Just a little side note. But this is way too light. If you darken that up, and it doesn't, oh, whoops, let's do the right one. If we just pull this out, and actually one of the things, let me pull this up, is probably an easier way to really show you. Let's pull up a color swatch. And this is something that you guys can do on your own when you're not sure. Is something too bright, too dark? Is it standing out too much? Let's check. So if we look at the reference photo, if we look at the reference photo, that area, the brightest area, is that bright. How bright is yours? Whoa, that's in your face like the blanket and the curtain. So there is a huge issue right there. That should not be that bright. But even so, your painting has warmer tones than that, so it's not going to be exact. Let's look at the actual photo versus the lightest area here. Now let's look at the difference of yours. Your lightest area, it's not a big difference, and it should be. This area really needs to be very, very, like right in here, again, that needs to be way darker because it does look like something odd is coming out there. Now, one of the things I also found interesting you mentioned, because this is true for everybody, A lot of people think if you use a projector, it's like an instant win button, like, oh, hi, tuna. Canary's flying out. But a lot of people think that means you cheated, it's instantly good. No, because if you couldn't have freehanded it on your own, the projector's only going to get you so far, and that you're going to find areas, even though you projected it, don't trust those lines as you keep painting to be accurate. You have to go back and check yourself. And that could be, let's say you did it, one thing that you can, super helpful. If you were using, whether you're using a projector or you're just using tracing and transfer paper, project it onto your line drawing onto your canvas. Take a piece of tracing paper and trace that. Hold that tracing paper to the side, and as you're drawing, you're going to start noticing things. You can use that tracing paper, put it back over it to see if things are off. For example, if we look at our eyes, you've got this one is more that way, this one is shorter, and it's more of a U. So these two areas don't, like, that's going to be a big issue when you're dealing with a portrait. And again, I am not saying this to make you think you're not going to be great at this. Do not give up on portraits. I see so much potential in you. So these are just things to hopefully help you watch out for in the future. We can also look at areas like, let's pull this one up. Hold on one second. Oh, my remote went to sleep. That's why. So let's pull out, come on. Looking at her face. Look at the line that you've done here on her lips. Look how bright you have that. This whole area should be very, very shadowed. The way that her cheek is highlighted here makes it feel too close to the viewer. So again, you're distorting her face. Having the sharp shadow here ages her quite a bit. The reason for that is that you're making her face a little bit bony. So as we age, we lose a lot of the fat in our face, and so our bones stick out more. And that's basically what that looks like when that's overdone. Look how soft it is. It doesn't come down as far on the actual photo. There is a shadow here, but it's not as far out. Or the highlight, see how sharp that is? Same thing. It makes it appear like that bone is really protruding, which adds a many, many, many years to her, because it doesn't look like she has her natural youth, that natural young fat in her face. Her nose, this was a big one. Oh, I feel like I'm picking this apart because I see so much potential in you. So please, again, don't take this as being like, oh, forget it, I give up. But look at her nose here. We've got this highlight, and then we have these two little raisins. That is not, you want to watch out for the raisins on the nose. For one thing, this nostril here doesn't really show in the reference photo. It just blends into the shadow of her nose. You don't see that definite nostril. And then this nostril, if we zoom in, watch this on reference photos. Wade's still out there squeaking his squeaky toy. Look at this area is not straight black. It's not just dark. It fades here, dark brown, and as it moves forward out that way, you've got a lighter brown tone or reddish brown tone. It's not a raisin. So watch that, and trust me, we have all done that. So don't feel alone. We've got the shape of her eyebrow not quite off, or right. This one is a lot thicker than this one. This one, the eyebrow here comes and it ends because her face is on the pillow. It looks like what you've tried to do is get the start and end of her eyebrow there, where it really should just be going right off the pillow. So it's these little things that you want to watch for. Her nose is at a very different angle than what you've got kind of coming out this way, a strong and then a nubbin. Here, it kind of all goes that way. There's no nubbin, if that makes sense. Is nubbin a word? I mean, it's a word now. It's a nubbin. So these little things all really add up to something that is going to look more realistic. And I know you were really focused on your values and getting your darks darker, which is great. But a lot of this is still way too light. I mean, we look in through here. Now, you talked about people saying use greens and blues and such in the skin tones. I wouldn't worry as much about that right now. I don't think you're at a stage of your portraiture that's super important right now. The thing that I want to see you focus on more are your values, which you are aware of. So that is awesome. The fact that you're aware of it is a big, big deal. So that's step one, is knowing what it is you want to improve on. The other thing is just getting that accurate drawing. I mean, her face here is much more round, where this one is more of a long oval. So that sort of thing. It's just that the base drawing, even if you use a projector, even if you trace, does not guarantee once you start painting that your lines, all you have to do is one brush stroke a little outside the line, a little more outside the line, and a little bit more, and it does not look anything like that original drawing that you traced. So, I can say this from years ago when I used to teach in person. I remember I had one student, I would draw everything for her, and it looked nothing like what I drew by the time. She wanted to do portraits, but she was not, like, she didn't really take it that seriously. So she just kind of painted whatever, and it did not matter what was drawn because she wasn't really paying enough attention to that as she worked. Now, another thing you can always do is flip your work upside down. You will notice things you did not previously notice. Like, it makes a huge difference in the work. So those are some of the things. I know you commented on the arm being wrong, and yeah, it was, but it's, I mean, everything's off. This is the thing. When things start getting a little bit off, everything starts getting off. It's never going to be one little thing that there's a problem with. When the perspective, when something like that is a little off, everything just starts, because you can't line up with it. So if normally I'm like, okay, if this eye comes here and that matches there, but I come up to this one and it's not doing the same thing, let's move you over there. The lines don't line up. Look at where her eyebrows should be. It's not shaped right. So then if I'm like, okay, well, if I know on the photo, if I came straight across, these eyebrows should meet there. But when I do that on yours, that's off. So this was off, which made this off, which means this is off, which means this. It means everything ends up being slightly off. And it's all such minor things that when you were sitting in front of the easel, it's very hard to notice. You want to really take your time, back away regularly, but make sure that drawing is perfect to begin with, not just the outer edges, because it's not going to get better once you start adding paint. It's just going to get further and further, more and more inaccurate, I guess. So these are all things we want to watch for. Now, one of the things that here, see how there's so much. I was tempted to just do a critique because I only had a couple submissions initially just on this, because there's so much I love about this to talk about, like so many lessons here. Thank you so much for submitting this. But see how you put all these highlights in her hair? They don't need to be there. If you just follow the values that this one has, that's just all dark. And you can leave it all dark and it will be fine. You don't feel like you have to pull out highlights that aren't there because you're inventing them. And now you've changed the shape of her head. Now it's like, why does her head dip in here? That's weird. That doesn't make total sense. If that doesn't make sense, does that make sense? That's not repetitive at all. Let's see. Her earring, maybe just because, you know, you look at something and you see it as something and you can't unsee it, kind of looks like a googly eye to me, the plastic toy one. So I probably would leave that out. Her ear, the shadow, everything, like the shadow goes that way, but on the photo, the reference photo, the shadow should actually go more up up that way. So these little things, like I said, it sounds like I'm picking everything apart, but what happens is one thing ends up off and it throws everything off of it. Now, let's say you're painting a dog and the fur is a little off. Not that big of a deal. As long as you look at your eyes, your nose, your ears, those are in the right place, you're fine. With people, you've got to be way more precise on where those things go. But again, paying attention to the highlights. Like you've got this highlight right here. That highlight doesn't exist on the photo. Don't, especially when you're learning, don't invent highlights. It will always not look good. You can make highlights that are there sometimes a bit brighter or a bit darker and be okay, but they need to be exact in the right place. But then again, here, because that one was lighter, it caused a distortion. Here's another area. This whole area is way too light, but look how it comes all the way up here. That whole area right in there. Look at the difference. Look how dark that is on one versus the other. These little things all add up to that big finished image. So those are my main things. And I mean, again, I could sit here and just because that's easy to do on it's very easy to find things on a portrait to adjust. Her elbow, she's missing it. There should be a shadow in here. And that's part of why that arm doesn't look right. It just looks like a triangle. I actually thought it was a pillow at first because it's missing the bend there. And that's really just created with the shadow in here. There again, there's just so much little stuff like that. And you've done a great job. I see so much potential here. So again, don't take this as, oh, forget it. I don't want to do portraits. I'm not good at them. None of us are good at them in the beginning. You are on your way. There is so much potential here. So again, and when you hear people talk about, well, add more blue to the skin, add more, you're not at a stage where I would worry about that right now. If you are my student in person, I would say values and accuracy in the actual drawing. That is all I really care about. Color, that'll come. But let's first worry about getting things perfect. And one of the things that I like to do when I work on portraits, I do everything with sepia tones, browns or black and white. But usually with portraits, I'll do it all browns, sepia. I usually use like raw umber. Paint the whole thing that way with a little bit of black, a little bit of white. But get the entire thing done where it's just those two tones. That's it. And I don't have to worry about color. Then I'm going to glaze color over it. So what I'm doing by doing this underpainting, I don't know. Let me see really quick if I've got, I don't think I have that pulled up. I think it's on a different file that I can't get to because it's not plugged into my computer. Let me double check really quick. Yeah, I don't. It's definitely not on here. But what I do is everything where it's just the two-tone, again, like the grisé, which I never say right. But do it like that first. Make sure everything's perfect. Your values are perfect. Your details, your eyes are, everything is perfect. Then worry about color. So you're separating two very challenging things. Painting people, getting the color you want and getting the details, the values, the everything else. Let's not put that in one stew of, wow, this sucks. This is too hard. Let's separate those, focus on one element, master that, and then we'll move on to the color stuff. Let me see. Oh, I don't have this. Do I need any of this right now? No. But I do need to turn the volume on in case Nick or Joseph has, if something gets cut out, they let me know. So anyway, that is what I have for this. And we could go on the little intricacies of, I mean, we can even look like her arm here. Look at the curve. Is that actually, that's off camera. Look at the curve here, how it comes that way. You've got a definite curve. When we go to this one, not so much. It should come up. And, you know, these are the little things we really want to watch. Usually when I paint hands, I'll go a little bit more straight on a lot of the fingers and such. So it's straighter lines, not as rounded like what we have here. Here, everything's a little bit too wavy, too, like, it ends up looking more like sausages than the bony, because she's very thin, so you've got that bony look. So again, those are some of my tips that should help with any of you working on portraits. And thank you so much, Lily, for submitting this, because there's so much I love about this and I see so much potential, but there's also so much room for improvement, which means I'm super excited. Like a year from now, if this is your 4th portrait, I can't wait to see what you're doing in another year. You're going to be really good. Okay, so let's go ahead. And I've got to go ahead and switch some stuff out here. Actually, we'll pull those guys up while I switch out. Who's next? Let's see. I haven't saved everything, so I've got to pull up. I know I have it somewhere. I'm sorry for being a little slow tonight getting these going, because I don't do this every week. Tuna is sitting on top of Glitch's vivarium. Okay, so next we have JG. Let me save these images first to my computer. Save you, save you, save you. And I will get these now over into Photoshop. That will take just a moment here. Okay. So the artist for these, this is, let's see, JG Arts. Or Artis, it's capital. I can't read. Okay, says 52 Ford painted for a friend on an 8x10 canvas board in acrylics. I live in a tiny home, so I paint tiny paintings, makes it easier, and I love painting small. My goal is to paint semi-photorealistic. I want to paint still life photorealistic. Challenge is to make it pop, shine, and crisp, and always perspective. Okay. So let's take a look over here. What do we have? Okay, so definitely a canvas board. I want to suggest this canvas. You can see how rough this is. you might want to consider a watercolor canvas board. The Frederick's watercolor canvas board. If not, put a couple coats of gesso. That canvas is rough, and that is making your life more difficult than it needs to be, especially when you're painting smaller and you're trying to get tiny detail. Trust me, smooth will make it so much easier. So I would definitely switch in the 8x10 Frederick's canvas boards. Those are easy to get, you know, on Amazon or Blick or wherever. Okay, so let's pull this. Let's pull, you got it framed. That looks awesome. One thing I want to point out, this is actually a good example of something I talk about a lot. Look at, you can't see it. I blew it up and now you cannot see. Look at the edge here. On the painting, it doesn't look like you're that close to the edge. But when it's framed, look how that edge, that fender just barely touches the frame. This is what I always say. Make sure that whatever you're painting either goes completely off the canvas or is within an inch of the edge of the canvas. That needs to be inside. There is not an inch right here. Like that needs, if you have an inch right in that area, then this is not going to barely touch. So just a quick tip there. That is my first tip. Next, let's get these pulled up so we can see them a bit better. Just have to readjust some stuff. I also want to bring up on your photo, let's talk a little bit too, let's go a little bit bigger than that, about staging. So this photo, now keep in mind too on these critiques, this is the first time I'm seeing most of these photos. I saw Liley's, but most of these I haven't seen yet. So it's not going to be like, there's always going to be more that could be brought up if I took more time on each individual painting and really looked at it longer. So these are just off the top of my head. The way that this is staged on a table outdoors, the image you can see clearly, which I like, but either Photoshop this car out and all these colors over here, they might look awesome in your yard, but they look less awesome in a photo, if that makes sense. Like stage it. And yeah, I Photoshop that stuff all the time where you can see background stuff I don't want you to see, just Photoshop that out. Not that hard, but you can make an image look much, much better, much cleaner, focused on the painting if you stage it a little bit. Maybe a wood table instead of the patio furniture, or, you know, things like that. You can stage it with art supplies. You could stage it with a plant sitting next to it, like a nice potted plant next. I've got, oh, they're all tangled up. My Hoyas would be a pain to pull over here right now, but they're vining everywhere. But a nice plant sitting next to it, like you can really do a lot to stage the art to make it look even better, which is awesome. But that is not the point of this, so let's close that one. Okay, so on to these. Let's pull that out. Now, the first things that I'm noticing is that the perspective is definitely not exact. So your life will be so much easier if you get that exact in the first place. Now, that may mean simply tracing. Saves you a lot of time and you know it's exact. But like we were talking about before, you can trace it or use a projector and still have it off as you start adding paint. Your brushstroke a little out of the line and a little bit more out of the line, and it throws everything else off. So things to keep in mind. But we definitely have some perspective stuff. Like, for example, this area here, this color could be up there. This area here, you've got that and this are about the same. Actually, it almost looks like that's a little bit longer, but those are about the same. But in reality, look at this area is big and this is much shorter, like half the size. And this gives you that perspective that it's moving away from the viewer by having that variation. Now, I'm not saying yours is not adorable. Your painting is super, super cute. But if you're going for making it more realistic and getting that perspective in there, then that's the sort of thing that you really want to watch for to, oh, let's pull my eraser out. That can make my life easier. There we go. Well, nope, not that. Oh, I know why. Let's actually make my, it's fine. I can just draw on it. I'll just use the undo button instead. So that would be my first tip. The next, gosh, we've got a few things. So this area here, look how bright, that is white and very flat. Whereas if we look at this, look at the shapes. We've got a very different shape on those. And then there's this that comes in between. You've sort of got it, but yours are just little U's. They don't have that little curve. So that is something, and that's just one of quite a few things of like the little stuff that you can adjust. The lights, so they're aimed this way. yours are aimed kind of at the viewer, even though the truck is aimed that way. So see how these are more at an oval and yours is much more of a circle. And it's not that big of a difference, but it makes a big difference on the perspective. If you like drawing cars, follow Pinstripe Chris Dunlap over on Instagram or Facebook. He's amazing, but his perspective and then showing you, like when you watch how he does the shine, oh my gosh, he is amazing. Like best of the best when it comes to cars. Definitely check him out. But these little things would make a big difference. And then let's talk about the metal. I love this. So here, you've got the shiny metal, and you've got the reflection. You're starting to get that in there. The way that you get shiny metal, so if we look at like the truck in here or right around the headlight there, that is super high contrast with your lights and your darks. You almost black right up against white. I mean, dark against light, and it makes it look shiny and, well, shiny. So that is a big thing you can do to start making it look. And then the tire too. We've got, like, see how it's little over here and it's thick? Little. Yours is kind of the same. Actually, it's thicker on the outside, so it looks like the tire is turned in instead of coming out. So we've got a lot of perspective issues going on. Now, here's the cool thing about one of the things that I find helps a lot of students to start recognizing perspective accurately is to trace. You could trace this truck 10 times and then freehand it. Let's say you don't want to trace the actual work. That's fine. Trace it 10 times and then try freehanding it. Your brain is going to start accepting the perspective, the accurate perspective, as being correct, which it is. So when you start drawing it and it's not right, you're going to recognize that it's not right. Something's not going on where it should be. So, and there's just a lot of the little stuff like that. I mean, here, again, small comes out. I'm over exaggerating so you can see what I mean, but see how it comes out where it's really thick here, really little here, where yours is actually thicker here than it is here. Like, these little things seem like not a big deal. Now, you painted that truck. It's super cute, but it's more of a cartoon than something more realistic because it's not, like, the perspective is just off enough. So the next thing I want to point out, getting highlights and such. You've got the cool rust. I mean, you're building that rust in there. You're getting the detail, and you are good at detail. You are good with your liner brush, so I have no doubt you are not going to be able to do this. I know you can. But let's look at some of the colors in here. Look at the highlight. I'll pull this guy up here. Look at the color, how light that is. That's like peach, pink, like light, this area here. Yours is dark, like really dark. So we don't have any of these highlights. Look how light that is. You've got some highlights. Wait, there's your brightest highlight. You're so close, but it's just like one little line. The other thing is here. Whoops. Let's see. Here. Look at how this curves, whereas yours curves the opposite direction. I mean, we're completely different directions there. So these little things will work so well. But your detail, look at your detail in here. You are good with your detail. You are good with your liner brush. Small paintings, not going to be a problem for you. Smoother canvas will make it easier, but like, you've got this. This is really, really cool. So another thing I want to point out, going back to what we talked, and again, these are just things that are popping out as I'm looking at it. So first impression type things. But look at the tree here. I would not even include that tree, honestly. I would just leave that guy out. He does not need to be there. He is not adding to the piece. It's actually kind of distracting in the way you've got yours. Look at how, again, with the barely touching, same problem we had over here when it was framed, that was barely touching. We want to avoid that look as much as possible. So either have the tree back so it fills in this whole section, which means the hood is going in front of it instead of barely touching, or I would just gone, take it out. It's one of those things that I don't think adds. It's not hurting anything. It is a beautiful painting. You've done a great job, but you could make it even better than you already have. When you do the background like this, you want to look at it more as a landscape. One of the things that you can do with a landscape, you want to have, if you have cooler tones back here, more of your blues and purples, you cool that off back there, warm it up here. So in your case, your green here and your green here, those are all the same colors. If you want to add depth to it, which would add so much, two things. One, fuzz up that background, blur it out. It does not need that much detail like all the leaves and stuff. You can blur that out. But the other thing is here, switch to more like almost like dry, end of summer grass, my lawn right now. More browns mixed in, so you can still have the greens, but mix in some of those golden tones. Warm up the foreground. You can leave the background. You've got those blue tones already, but what if you just warm up this area in here? That's going to pull this closer to the viewer, push this back. You are creating so much more depth in doing that. The other thing is you've got more detail back here than you do here, which it doesn't make sense. So we want to do the opposite. We want more detail here, less detail back there, and that's going to add even more to your perspective. And the cool thing about that, or not perspective, the depth. Cool thing about that, you're thinking, well, I don't really care about that. It's just a cute painting of a truck. Yes, you are correct, but even better, you can add, like, give it so much more punch by changing these things, by getting these definite highlights, watching that perspective, watching where things curve. This should be thicker, this should be thinner. These little things, if you can start really getting in there. And I recommend, if you have been drawing, let's say you've drawn, and this is for anybody, if there's a subject you have drawn over and over and over again, we always hear, well, how do I improve my art? Draw more. Yes and no. Draw more, draw correctly. If you keep making the same mistakes, painting after painting after painting, where the perspective's not quite right, where your highlights are, things are just not quite right, they're close, I can tell it's a truck, I can tell what kind of truck it is, that's awesome, but they're not quite there, you're not going to get better from continuously making the same mistake. And this is why I love the method of having students trace. It forces you to start seeing things accurately, things you wouldn't have noticed before, whether it be more detail or simply the perspective. You've got to start teaching your brain what is accurate. And this goes back, we can go back to the portrait earlier. If that portrait is not exact, if your brain starts going, close enough, it's fine, close enough, and you're not necessarily improving, you have to, and I know people get mad, and there are people out there that teach that'll tell you you will never improve your drawing skills if you trace. It's the biggest load of crap I have ever heard. I've been teaching longer than most of them have been even holding paintbrushes, so that I'm old. So you don't want to listen too much. But also, a lot of what happens with art and with art teachers, they regurgitate what their teachers told them. But that doesn't mean it was accurate. It means it's been this, well, it's art vomit of crap. And vomit, those aren't the same things, different ends. No one going too far, Lisa, move along. So there's some really bad advice out there, and trust me, I have seen over and over and over again where a student improved their perspective, they improved their detail, they improved their realism because they were tracing. And it doesn't matter if it was your project, you just traced the project and that's what you painted, because as you're painting, you're seeing it correctly because it was drawn correctly, or if it's that you traced it 10 times and then freehanded your project the 11th time. Either way, the point is start looking at it accurately, and that is a way to do it. You can always flip it upside down. That helps too. But those are going to be some of my tips for this guy that I think should really help. Yeah, and a lot of the tips that I gave, even for that portrait earlier, where one little thing ends up off and everything else ends up off. Like those two, look at these lines. That should line up. Yours, nowhere near each other, like at all. So these are the things, if you can start watching for, it is going to make such a huge impact. The fact that you're that good with the detail, you're going to be amazing. It's just, we need to get things a little bit more accurate and adjusting some of the values, adjusting some of the colors. And I know I always say color's not that big of a deal, but it can make a big difference in this case in your depth. So there we go. Okay, next. I warned you guys who submitted I was not going to get through everything today. This is going to take a few to get through the critiques. So let's pull up. These guys can keep you company while I switch out our photos. And who is next? I'm just going in order that they were submitted. So we've got Pamela next. Oh, I don't even need the reference photo. Okay, I don't actually, let's go ahead and download this. This will be a quick one because I don't have a lot to go over because it is good. Let's see, if you've been on Patreon, you have already seen, you know what the reference photo is. Actually, I probably have it. I can probably pull it up. Let's first get this over here, and let me see if I've got Patreon. Where was that? Let's go oranges. Maybe someday. It's working on it. We're getting there. My computer's thinking about it. Okay. Oh, it's so good. You did such a good job. Oops, that is not what I want. Let's pull this over. Give me just a second here. Lining some stuff up. Okay. So next we have these oranges. These come from, oh, whoops. Pamela, she said, I would like to have a critique of my painting from your oranges tutorial. My goal was to learn how to do a bokeh background in colored pencil and to improve my colored pencil technique in general. My challenges were getting the colors values correct because I was seeing the colors different on my computer monitor than what you were suggesting. Now the reason for that, there is a good reason for that. I did not do it exact. I go for values, not necessarily the exact color. And if you look at my painting, mine was more, what did mine end up being? More reds. Let me pull mine up. Yeah, that'll work. If we look at mine, next to the reference photo, I went with more of these reds than the yellows. So mine is definitely a little, this one here is mine. Mine's definitely a little bit different. This is one where I'm going to the whole color's not that big of a difference or deal. It's your values. So for yours, you went way closer to the reference photo, which is awesome. Total, that's fine. So yeah, that's why when I was calling out the colors, it wasn't exactly going to be the same. Only a couple of things I would say. I'll come back to the bokeh, which was your focus there. Oh wait, let's see what else you said. Let's see, I had to figure out how to trust what I was seeing and translate that to a more limited supply of pencils. I also had to figure out when to quit. Or did I need to do more? Done on 11 by 14 inch Arches hot press watercolor paper using polychromos, Derwent Lightfast, and Derwent drawing pencils, limited colors. Okay, this is awesome. So, wow. This is why this one's going to be quick because they're... Wow. So this, I would go ahead and darken here. That would certainly be a lot darker than the reference photo and here. And what's going to happen is you're going to get more, and right in the middle probably, like just the middle, not the top. The top I would leave light. But what's going to happen is that pushes those more in shadow. It doesn't look as flat. Right now, that one stem looks kind of flat. You started the shading, but I would push that a little bit more. Everything else, this should be lighter. This orange I love. Man, you and your colors, you went way closer to the reference photo than I did. So that's all I have for those. Those look amazing. But back here, so we're talking about the bokeh background. So the main thing is yours are more defined little circles and ovals. Overlap them more. Overlap them. I would darken this whole area way up. That is like super... that sounds out more than I would want it to. It's the only area, you don't have a lot of areas of that color, a little bit here, but that violet or lavender color is a little bit too like, hi, I'm here because I'm not anywhere else that much. So I would certainly do, oh, I love your use of purples in here. My gosh, you did amazing. I would tone that down, whether that mean, yeah, I would add more green, basically pull more of, and more olivey greens. Now you said you worked with a limited color palette. This is really like Kelly green, bright green. Tone it down by adding its complementary color. Reds, your purples, not so much purples, more of, well, purple in Derwent Lightfast, but your like magenta colors. It's called purple in Lightfast, even though really it's more magenta to me. But your reddish tones will tone that down and give you more of that olivey green tone. And the other thing is these circles, overlap them more. Instead of being separated, more overlapping is what we need with bokeh. That's a big deal. That way it's not too spotted or polka dotty. Polka dotty. I don't think that's a word. But other than that, I think you did an absolutely amazing job. This is another area. This is too defined. All of that I would really tone down. And that's, I mean, it's colored pencil. So I doubt you put a seal. I don't seal mine. So you should be able to go over it. I would. This is so perfect. Otherwise, well, another thing, darken these up. I would make those a little bit darker. Well, no. Okay, so one thing that's different, yours is about the same as here. This is much darker, and it's the same as these. Yours is the same, it just isn't as dark, and I don't know that it needs to be as dark. you'd be okay with leaving that. I'm okay with that staying where it's at. But this is an area that I think could be a lot stronger. Overlap these, maybe mute those. It's up to you if you want to make that green not so green. But the bigger thing would be, this is so, like, that is super, it doesn't blend with anything. And with bokeh, you want to feel like everything's overlapping each other. I mean, if we look at this, look at how it just kind of fades. You've got green that fades right into that lavender. There's no definite line, and yours has this definite line. And whenever you're doing bokeh, you should not have a definite line for anything. When you want that out of focus look, the whole thing is that there are no defined edges. Everything just blurs together. It fades green into the lavender. So it's not that the lavender is the wrong color, it's that there's too much and that there's no fading between these two. So I would certainly adjust that, but man, did you do an amazing job on this. Okay. And really, everyone tonight I've gone through, you guys have all done so good. You should seriously not only be proud of yourself in that you're looking to improve, but being proud of yourself that you had the bravery to submit this. Dolphin Soul did not, by the way, just pointing that out. But no, you guys are all doing so good. Okay, so let's give you guys the fish again while I pull up who is next. Give me just a moment here. So next is Angela. We've got a lion. Let me save this. And did we have... Okay, here's our reference photo, which is not wanting to save. There we go. It was giving me an attitude. Let me pull these up. And shrink that down just a moment. Okay. And let's see what Angela says. She said, "Hi Lisa, here's my submission. The goal was to create a realistic lion's face. The challenge was getting enough layers, and I realized after I drew his nose, I had not paid enough attention to the fur direction or the structure of his face, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. I plan to redo this drawing and would love advice on how to improve for the second attempt." Oh my gosh, I love that you were doing that. That redrawing the same thing and improving is so helpful. If you guys have struggled on anything, repaint it. Figure out exactly where you can improve on and then do it again. So helpful. Okay. It's much more helpful than continuously fussing over the same one, and that would be the case here. Like you'll hit a point where it can't take more layers, and it's just easier overall to do it again, and that is awesome. Okay, this is a 5x7, so it's not big. It was done in colored pencil, Faber-Castell, polychromos, mostly some Prismacolor, Premiere, but I learned quickly that I hated using them because I kept breaking. You and me both, and most people have used them. On Canson Me10s, black, the smooth side. If this matters, I will use polychromos, Derwent Light Fast, and Caradosh Luminance on the second attempt, and I will also switch to either Arches Hot Press or Clairefontaine Pastel Matte as the surface. Okay, so let's pull this up. I did just call you out, Dolphin Soul. Let's see. So let's come over here. We've got both of those on screen. Whoa, that isn't what I meant to do. Okay. Oh, because I'm not wrong computer monitor altogether. So obviously the first thing is just the values, and you're working on that black. On this case, you were working on black paper. You could have gone so much darker, like so much darker, so easily. So that's the first thing. The next thing I want to point out. Let's not even worry about the reference photo for a second here. This is one of the things, like, I love that you guys have submitted some of the best stuff, because it's stuff I talk about all the time, and I'm like, oh, you just gave me examples. This is perfect. Okay. See how you made his fur? I see individual lines that go almost from one end all the way out Like I can see the actual pencil lines. They're all like, no, stop. Why is it doing this? That when you do a lion or people hair, you will never draw a hair from the top all the way to the bottom, ever. It's always going to be, let's pull that out. Always, by the way. So those of you who are painting lions, this is very important. Whoops, you go away. Let's pull you up. There's not a single hair that goes all the way out at all. What you have are clumps. This is such a big deal. So I've got some lion tutorials. Definitely follow those. I think I've got an older one on Patreon of a lion. Watch how that mane is built up into these sections. There are no individual long hairs one way to the next. These are clumps and clusters. Now, I don't care if your clumps and clusters are exact to the photo. This is where I talked about it's not the same as there's not as much pressure as drawing a person. But clumps and clusters, still, you want to get those in there pretty close. None of this. You start doing those lines, start to finish these nice flowy Fabio lines. How many of you are old enough to remember Fabio? It's not going to work. It's not going to look realistic. Now, that's not to say you didn't do an amazing job. You did. This is actually gorgeous. And I can see you've got enough of the attention for detail in the direction of the fur. You're doing a pretty good job. Slow down. That is going to be my next biggest tip. This is the night of everyone has potential, apparently, because you guys, seriously, you're doing so good, but slow down. Let's say you spent 8 hours on that. Let me spend 16. Double it at least. Spend more time, slow down. What usually happens when I see students doing these, look, I've got all these long stringy hairs. It's trying to get a lot of detail really fast, really fast, and it never, ever comes out looking realistic. Does that mean that this isn't a gorgeous piece? No, it's beautiful. I like it. It's art. There's no right or wrong, but when you're going for realism, that is not something that you're going to see on a lion or a person. You get these clumps. Look at how these group. And then you've got a definite area here, dark and light. And another area, let's pull all these out. Let's see if I can undo enough of these because I put a whole bunch in. Should have really made another layer. I don't know how many I can do before my computer tells me no. Oh, apparently a decent amount. And that's where we hit my limit. Okay, so we've got this row of a light. We've got a medium row, and then we've got the dark on the outer edge. Notice how these are together. Light, medium, the darkest. And that's going to be the case on most lions. You're going to have these rows, so you've got clumps within the rows, but you've got to build all that together. Color saturation, obviously, is the next thing. Now, you've used, it looks like there's yellow, and it's hard to tell because this is, you used yellow. No yellow. Yellow is out of your palette for this. No yellow. What we're going to use are oranges. We're going to use violets. We're going to do oranges. Let's see. Violet, magenta, mortem is going to be your friend. You could use some browns, some golden browns, especially when you get into the face. But let's actually pull up and look at. Wait, do I have it up already? No, I closed it because I'm a genius. Hold on. Let's make a new little box. Whatever, that works. I don't care. Okay, let's go, new layer fill. Okay, let's move you over. That is a golden orange tone, not yellow. That is a cream tone. It's about as close to yellow as you're going to get, but there's barely any. That's really only on the edge. These are all golden orangey tones. Look, a brick red color, basically, like deep. I would get that probably, whoops. Could put mortem with maybe a bit of my purple from Derwent Lightfast would work for close enough. Now I'm going to use, whenever I paint lions, whenever I paint Tigers, especially when you've got these orange tones, I'm going to use a really good amount of purple in there. Purples and violets are your go-tos on these. And you've got some of those in yours, but let's look a little bit more of these colors. We've got more of these creams. Cream. That's not an M, that's an M. Cream colors. Like this one, I would say, what is it, like sepia 50% or something like that with Caran d'Ache Luminance. They've got a lot of good cream colors in there. But that, something like that for these areas. As we get out into here, golden browns, but more orangey tones. Orangey tones, orangey browns, reddish tones. No yellow. That's my whole point here. No yellow. Yellow is not, when you're, with very few exceptions, like there's some kind of monkey that had actual yellow in its fur. Fur is almost never going to be yellow. Not on any big cat, not on any dog, unless somebody dyed their dog, because people do that sometimes with poodles. There is no yellow. Birds, yes. Not on most, like if there's fur or people hair, unless it's somebody who's one of those weirdos who's like, I'm a clown. You're not going to have yellow hair. Even with blonde, that's going to be done with these neutral tans, browns. You'll pull in purples for like your shadows and such. But yellow is, unless, like the exceptions, somebody dyed their hair a funky color, and why somebody decided to dye hair yellow, I don't know. But like that's yellow. I'm not talking blonde. We have, if the sun, if you are in a sunset, or the lion especially, if you're in like an African sunset and they'll do that definite glow, yellow in those cases. And it's usually like on an edge. It's not mixed into yellow fur, because the fur itself is not yellow. It's the glow from the sun casting that yellow when it's at sunset. Another would be like you've got the fake lights, like what I've got behind me. If I get close enough to that, that could cast a like yellow on me. But other than those situations, it's pretty, and there's probably something else I'm not thinking of, but yellow is your, just remove it from your color palette. I cannot talk tonight. Color palette. Let's enunciate. Yeah. And as we go through here, again, it's just different shades, browns, golds, oranges, violets. No yellow. Anyway. So that is one of my big, huge tips. And we get into here, look at even blues. Look at the blues and grays as we get into the chin. Versus, I don't actually know what you have. Hold on, let's pull that out over. Oh, nothing. We're just missing those highlights altogether. So that would be my next. Let's look at the highlights. I apologize. He's just going to have some pink in his hair because at least it's not yellow. There we go. So next, the values. Look at the difference in color. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be exact color-wise. I'm just saying, well, throw my pen on the floor. Get the values in there. So let's say the chin. Look at the chin that's in shadow. We've got the gray. That is dark gray. This is our color down here. As we start moving up, we get into like white creams. That's almost straight white, almost. There we go, that one's almost white. So we've got a lot of variation in there. When we go over to yours, oh, it's green. It's green because yellow on top of black, green. So that's why that happened. But we don't have the values. Look how dark we want that. That versus that. Like dark. Get that really, really dark in there. This whole side of the face, you want this to be really dark in through here. The values are so important in the shape of things. So let's come back over with the pen. Let's talk about the shape. Look at these types of shapes where the shadow is. You started it, but you didn't finish it. Like I can see it, but look how dark that should be compared to here, where yours is here and here. They're the exact same, which means yours is flat. These variations, look at around the nose. Look at how light that is through there. Look, and you've got some of the variation in here. You can do this. Just pay attention. Those lights in the dark. Look at how dark. Look, that is so dark next to so light. Yours, it started. You can see it. You're rushing. I think if you slow down, oh my gosh, you are going to do so good. It really is just slowing down. And watch for things like this. We've got this really sharp black line there. I'm not sure why, because I actually don't see that anywhere in here. Unless it's this, but that'd be the wrong place. So that isn't Oh, I see what it is. It's this, but it's just too dark. Like, watch for something like that. Black. That's the other thing. Most of your shading in here is black. The only way black is going to work is if the black is your deepest shadow and you've got deep violets, these rich, dark colors next to it. You can't go black to yellow. Well, I mean, it should be yellow, but the black to the light color like that doesn't work. You want a slight transition. Slight. I'm not saying like an even fade. I'm saying there should be a color right in between those two, just a little bit, so it moves into. We look at this guy. Look at this. It's not just a black line. It's black in here. As you get into here, we're into those deeper brown colors, but it's not just black. And we have a tendency, we look at something, we're like, yeah, black. Now, the 5x7, it's not super large, so you're not going to get all the same detail. I get that, and it doesn't need that. But get your values, get your contrast in there, and pay attention to these things, because right now his face has a very flat look, because this whole, everything in here is all the same value with a few lines. So, like I said, doesn't mean it's not beautiful, but it can be so much more. Like, you're going for realism, you got this. So that is my advice for this guy. Thank you for submitting. I love that you submitted something with a long flowy mane along the edge, because that is something I talk about all the time. And you have submitted to us what I'm talking about. Thank you. You are awesome. Okay. Let's see. What is next? Next? Oh my God, I really can't talk. This has been me all day. Next. Okay. Nope, we got that one. Next, we've got Eleanor. Oh, she did the warbler I did. Okay, let me save these really quick. And pull them over into Photoshop. You guys are going to recognize this reference photo for sure. Oh, it's watercolor. It's really pretty. Don't you wish you could see? But you can't. Okay, because I'm really slow, apparently. Here we go. So let me figure out where my mouse is. The joys of using two monitors. I never know where my mouse is. Okay. Eleanor said, hi Lisa, this is a 6x8 watercolor painting of the reference you shared on Patreon a while ago. My goals for this piece were to practice my accuracy with watercolor only, focusing on keeping the transparency of the paints too. I struggled with the background as I wanted to have an out of focus look, but I think it just looks messy. Overall, I'm happy with the piece, and I think I learned a lot while painting this, but I'd love to have some advice. Okay, so one of the things, I mean, it depends on your goals. So you said you wanted the translucent look, which you did get. The out of focus and translucent. I mean, you got that, but you're right. It is definitely a little bit more messy. Looking at just getting that first impression on things I might do a little bit different. I mean, with watercolor, you can get these to be super defined. I mean, you can get the out of focus look by you'd have to spend a bit more time, obviously. I would mask out. If I were to do this and I wanted to try to get kind of a more out of focus look that wasn't as messy, I would mask the subject out with masking fluid. And I hate masking fluid. It has its own set of dramas. But in this case, what's going to happen if you're trying to get something that's really out of focus and really spend some time layering and getting the details to get out of that look? Not that you need it to be exact to the photo, but to get that look, if you're trying to paint it around the subject, it's going to make your life really, really difficult. So the branch and the bird, I personally would have used masking fluid on. And I think that people, when they get really advanced with watercolor, not everybody uses or depends on masking fluid. I am not there. I depend on masking fluid. I think it makes life way easier, and it gives you a little bit more freedom on the way that you're doing your brush strokes and such. So that is one thing that I would do. Next, let's move on to the actual bird. So let's see. A lot of this is, you don't hear me say this that often. I think we were a bit too dark on some of that. I mean, that is like dark, dark. I don't think it really should be. You've got some shadows, but it feels a little bit more rushed. I think if you're going for realism, slowing down. Watercolor can get, this is your typical, what I would think of with most people and what I think a lot of people think of with watercolor. Now, that does not mean it's not beautiful. It actually is. Let's start with that. This is gorgeous. But is like, if I was going to give advice on how could we improve on that, the branch, things like, see how it's thinner here and thicker here, little things like that that are just a little bit messy, I would certainly put more work into. I would get more variation. Right now, the branch is all, you've basically got two colors, light and then the dark. I would want to see more variation there. When it comes up to the bird, we've got, let's see, you've got it in there. The shadow's just not, everything's not shaped quite right. It's close, but not really. Like the eye is not, like it should actually be down this way a bit more. It's kind of up. His head is a bit more domed. Little things like that, I think you could improve on. The feet. Feet are very, if they're rushed. I'm sorry, they're just rushed. You can put a lot more time and they won't be rushed. They'd be perfect. But that is very like, look how fat his toe is. Like he's got sausage toes. So that should certainly, like his little ankle should not be thinner than his toes. So things like that where it's just you spend more time on it. Take the time to mask the subject out. That gives you more time to mess with the background. And then when you get into the bird, you can have the translucency of watercolor, but still have accurate detail. They're not like separate things. They can go together. And watercolor is so enjoyable for fine, tiny detail. This would be a great project for it. Like everything, nothing's drawn quite right. Like at things, yeah, I think the biggest thing here, you've got the skill for it. It's just the spend more time. Now, again, that doesn't mean this isn't a gorgeous piece. That doesn't mean somebody's not going to love having this hang on their wall. And that is true of everyone who submitted tonight. Art is so subjective, and this is a different style. What I'm giving you advice on is how to make this style my style. If you're coming to me, that's what you're getting, the more realistic. But I don't want you to feel like this isn't already pretty. But yeah, like things, this is so, that branch is just so high on here. The branch I feel is overwhelming, especially with how thick it is. It should be so much thinner, so much more delicate than what it is right now. It's a lot blockier. And really, that's the same thing with what's going on back here. We've got the hint of branches back there, but it's kind of like the toes. It's more sausages than branches. Getting it to be a little bit more delicate. And with watercolor, if you mask out the subject, that gives you more time to refine things where you're not quite as rushed in order to get that. But yeah, I think that's the biggest tip on this. I can see what you're looking at, and I like your colors. You're actually really good with the colors you've chosen. Yours is a little more green, but that's fine as long as it's dark enough. This one, the original, has more golden tones, but yeah, it really, the details, the accuracy, I feel like it was just a bit more rushed. Like now, this is what I would expect for like a sketchbook, a quick sketch, just warm yourself up for the day. But as far as a finished project, I know you can, if you just put more time, you will be so much happier with the results. Okay, let's see what's next. So we'll give you guys the fish here. I lost my mouse again. There we go. Okay, next is going to be from Trisha. Let me download these. Okay, you sent a bunch. So we're just going to do quick. We're not going to do anything super detailed on these. I'll just give kind of my first impressions on some of this. And you don't have the reference photo for 2 of these. I should probably specify on these, I didn't even think to do that. 1 image per, but these are going to be pretty quick. So we'll go ahead and do all of them. And let me get 1 second to pull these up. Mostly I'm pulling all four up because I want to look at them. Okay. And what did you say about these? So we'll just go ahead and, whoops, pull that up. Nope, not that. That one. And Trisha said, I sent a couple, don't have the hair in. Okay, you didn't. So this is why I ask in the thing, I need to know your goals, because if I don't know your goals, I don't know how to critique it. I'm going to critique it as how I would somebody who's painting in my style with more realism. That may not be what you're looking for. So I always want to know, what are your goals? What were the challenges you had when you guys submit for critiques? That is super helpful. So I think I can give better result or better information. So this one, the sunflower, just very stylized. There's not really much to say here. It's very quick. I can't say anything because I don't know what your goals were. I mean, this reminds me more of toll painting than like your more fine art that takes longer, but I really like the contrast. I will say I love the contrast. I think the colors you chose are beautiful. The way the intersection here, the glow you've got from the color here out into the yellows, beautiful. So I really do like that. The intersection is very, you're quickly done, but also your values are so good in that it is a very striking. I don't know what size it is. That would help. I would imagine this is smaller. I'm not sure. So there, I don't really have much other than it's pretty, it glows, but because I don't know, were you trying to get more detail? Were you not trying to get more detail? Were you trying to make, like, it doesn't have a lot of depth other than the center does feel like it comes out to me, but the flowers themselves the petals feel very flat. Like there's no curve in any of them. So I would like to see more contrast in the values. But it is pretty, so I don't really have anything else there because I don't know what your goals were. Close that one. Click. This is cool. Same thing. Okay, it looks like it's fairly, let's see, it's on an easel, so it's kind of small. For a quick painting, I think that's really cool. I wouldn't necessarily, my one tip would be maybe not put him in the center. So with your artwork, if you go by the rule of thirds, if you're not really sure where to put things, actually, let me finish this one and then we've got JG Arts has given a super chat. So my fish get a treat in just a second. So let me go through and finish this one here and then we'll get on to the Dane. So this one, if you separate your art into thirds, this can give you a really good idea of where to position stuff. These are your hot spots. I want to see the main points of the subject there, not his neck. I would rather see his head. I would rather see, maybe move him down, or if you want him positioned this way, scooch him all the way to the side so his head and his body are more in this area instead of smack in the middle. So usually when now, the rule of thirds is a guideline. You don't always have to follow it, but if you're ever having a hard time or you're like, I'm not really sure about the balance of something, maybe it would look better if I did something a little bit different, try pulling up the rule of thirds, because if you can get your main, and usually it's the eye, when you're doing animals, the eye would typically be what you want to be in the third, or the head would be in one of the thirds, one of these cross points. That is going to give you a more appealing look. I don't have your reference photo here, but the next thing would be the white is never white. White is going to pick up all the blues. You're going to have more shading around everything. You're going to have so much of whatever your background color was within your subject. So those are my tips there. Again, remember, white is not white. White, like, let's say, here, let me pull up. Give me 1 second. I want to pull up. Oops, that's not what I want to pull up. Let's go with, what's a white subject? A white fox. Here's a good one. I'm going to, let's see. Let's just do it this way. We're just going to pull that over here, and that should work to where you guys can see. Yeah. Okay. White fox. Very little of this guy is white. Look at all of the areas around his body. Look at the blues, the grays. We've got like golden browns. We've got oranges in there. We've got everything, and there is maybe on his little ankle, maybe there's some white. Other than that, there's no white on that guy. So, I mean, like, you look at it, you think white, but it's not. And that's going to be true in most things unless it's overexposed. And so that's going to be the case here. This, again, has more of that toll painting feel. I really like the background, by the way. I love the texture you did in that background is just, I love that. But the bird, if we could get some more depth there by not leaving the white so stark white, let's get some shading, because white is almost never white unless it's overexposed. So those are my tips for that one. Again, I don't have the reference photo, so I can't really do much for you on that guy either. But we do, oh, I love the angle. That is super cute. Let me go ahead and get the super chat from JG for the fish. They get a treat, and then we're going to go over that Dean there. Let me open their food. Okay, guys, I'm not going to say it too loud because I don't want the boys to hear, but you got a super chat. Want a treat? There you go. Oh, they're happy. They thank you. I do have the right one up, right? Yeah, there we go. There you go. Oh, sorry. Hold on. My rail grandma doesn't like to eat over here. I have to go to the other side of the tank so he can get some bites. Otherwise, it's not fair. And apparently swimming all the way over the other side of the tank is just too far for that fish. Thank you so much. So now I owe the boys 2 treats after the stream. Okay, so let's go back over here. Okay, oh, and we have another one. Well, okay, Jen, I'm going to thank you so much for the super chat. I'm going to wait until those fish, let's give them at least 5 minutes or so for it to settle since they just got a bite. Otherwise, if they don't eat it all, I end up with some nutrient issues. So I'll give them a couple minutes before I feed them again. Although they're such pigs. Those are not skinny fish, let me tell you. Anyway, moving on. So let's work on this, and I've got to come back to that. So thanks again, Jen. You guys are making those fish happy. So here's the drawing. I love the angle of this. This is so cute. Oops, my thing is. There we go. Let me size these a bit. And we've got the reference photo. Super cute. Let's go you down here. Make you a little bit smaller and pull you up here. This is really, like, you are good. You are doing great. My tips, this isn't a sketchbook, so I don't imagine this was something that you were going, and you've got smudges. Oh my gosh. Look at your hand smudges all over the place. Put something under your hand when you work is tip number 1. But though they're all, you got some smudges. But great work here. Same thing as I'm saying with everyone else, just trace it. Trace it a few times and then freehand it if you know, to improve your tracing. But I would definitely spend more time there. But also, let's look at our values. Look how dark this area is. This is all solid, as dark can be. And these are not. Look at how you want to have variation. Now, graphite is not going to get black. Well, graphite, water-soluble graphite kind of does. But look at the difference of these versus this. That is a very different, you want to make that more obvious. So I would make those areas, like this whole area needs to be way darker. All these darks need to be darker. Now, if that's as dark as a pencil went, this photo could be washed out. That's fine. Just make the other areas a little bit lighter so that contrast is there. If your darks don't look dark enough, it's because what's next to it is not light enough. Adjust for that. But I know for certain, I mean, with how dark you got here, you should certainly be able to get all of this area in here a lot darker. So that is one. And again, this is very close. Like, you were good. This is very, very close. But, you know, you've got little details like that is more rounded versus yours has a more cartoony feel. And that seems to be the case with a lot of the work that you're doing. So it makes me think that you're freehanding everything, which is good. But you can improve even more. Trace a few times. It'll start opening. Your brain will start noticing things you just didn't notice before. And it starts making, when something's a little off, it's more obvious. Like in this case, look at how you rounded this. It's one solid area. It shouldn't be. Look at it fades. Look at how it fades right there. It doesn't just round off and end. These are the little things, but you're also, whoops, We're also missing, like, we've got the lighter area in here. Look at the shape difference versus just, you're close. I can see what you're seeing. I can see that you will be good at this, but we want to slow down, and we want to make sure that that's a bit more accurate. This is a great reference photo, by the way. I love the angle. Love the angle. I love the contrast. Like, this is so perfect for a portrait. Everything about that photo is like, I would 100% choose this photo to work from. This is a really good example of a good reference photo. You can see the details in the nose. You can see so many details and so much contrast. This is great for if you are new to pet portraits or portraits. A lot of times people will take a photo that is, it's just not a great photo, and it makes it hard for you to learn from. In this case, we've got such a good photo. I would draw this one again. 100% would draw this one again and make those changes. Make sure that the drawing is extremely accurate. You're close, but like, look at here. See, is this on screen? Yeah, that's on screen. Look at how here, but then this meets. Yours, they don't, the black is what meets, not the white. That white goes all the way through here, and yours is just, the whole thing is the black. These little things, and you may look at that and go, seriously, you're going to pick that apart for that? That seems so minor. These little minor things all add up to, if you're going towards realism, you're going towards improving, these little minor things really do make a big difference. So, and this is such a good photo, like, seriously. So, and you're so, like, you're so close. You can do this. Slow down, spend more time. Keep saying this, but this is one of the things that I was doing when I started with pet portraits. You, by the way, are infinitely better than I was when I started with pet portraits. So you are going to be great. But, like, seriously, this is way better than mine by a long shot. Like, it's kind of hilarious thinking at mine of what mine looked like at the time. But if you're already better than I was when I started with pet portraits, imagine if you slow down. When I went from spending 45 minutes on a pet portrait to 8 hours, that was like my first step. Like, what could I do to make mine better? Let's spend more time. 8 hours, night and day difference. You wouldn't have even known that it went from looking like a pencil sketch to a black and white photograph by putting more time. And I think that's the case here. You know, pay attention a little bit more to details. What you're doing is giving yourself a more stylized, cartoony look. Now, if that's your goal, that's fine. You didn't say in the email, but that is certainly, you can make this even so much better than what you've got. Like, slow down. And when you work on it, what I can see by your pencil strokes, you're being kind of sloppy. You're sketching this way, and then I'm going to sketch this way, and I'm kind of over here, and I'm over here. And you're not really going with the direction of the fur. Instead, work in little circles, little ovals as you work out. And when you get to fur, start getting those clumps of fur that way. Be more controlled. Really slow down. When we get into this area, like you kind of did loose shading and then dots, that's not what that looks like. Look at this. You've got a white line, like really white. Now you may be thinking, well, that's hard to do because I'm up against the white of the paper. Maybe shade the extra area of the paper or make it a little darker. Something though, make that show up in some way. We've got these little hairs in here. You can certainly get those showing. And actually, you're on Patreon, so I've got the graphite pencil of the bird. I think that's going to help you a lot with your graphite work. I'm working on, I'm already at over 4 hours on that video. Like, this is why you guys skipped last week. It wasn't really a skip. It was, this week's is so long. It was a long video. But that video, I would like to see you follow that lesson, or at least watch that lesson and take the tips and the tools that I'm using on that are really going to help you with this. Even though, yeah, it's a bird and it's a log, which seems like whatever. But the tools and the way that I'm working that pencil and the detail that I'm doing, if you apply that lesson to this, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. And I want to see when you redo this because you've got this. And that photo is so perfect. Okay, let's see. So next we've got, let's go ahead and give the fish their super chat. I'm surprised the boys, they must not hear me in here. I would think they'd be running in here like, what is going on? Why is everybody else getting treats and not me? So thank you. This one comes from Jen. The fish, thank you. Okay, guys, you get another little snack. I'm not feeding the royal grandma, though, because you can just swim your fat butt over here if you want some. There you go. Little snack. Of course, my clownfish, the biggest pig of all the pigs, is over there, first in line. He's my favorite. The little black and white, he's my black storm clownfish. Definitely my favorite fish. Him and the female are the two I've had the longest. Okay, while they are eating, I will pull up the next contestant. That's not the right word at all, but I'm going with it. Also, one of the things I did not bring up is I do have an auction going. I know I'm not painting anything, but there is an auction right now going over on my website. Let me pull, whoops, wrong button. This guy over here is for sale. And I've got the starting bid at $125, which this is not like, it's not a live stream painting. You can see it's on the stretched canvas. This is a 9x12, so it's quite a bit larger. And this is one that I spent a long, like this was a long one. It needs to be varnished still, so it looks like matte, kind of matte. It'll be glossy once it ships. But if you want to get this guy, he is normally listed on my website for $350. So if you want to get him at a huge deal, I've got that auction going till the end of the night. You've got a little over half an hour if you want to bid on him. If not, that will be going back up to $350 at the end of the night. Okay, so there was that. Thought we'd have some auction. Basically, I needed an auction on the front of my website, so I'm like, okay, I have to find a painting I'm willing to let, like, it has to be at a discount to do the auction, right? So anyway, there we go. I've lost my mouse. There it is. Okay. Next for tonight, pull them back up while I look for the image. That is not it at all, because I apparently don't know where my buttons are. Here we go. Nope, we did that one. We have from Delia, who wrote nothing. That's me judging you. That's my judgy voice. I don't know what your goals are. Okay, I mean, I can look at this and tell what your goals are. So, okay, fine. I'll leave it on this one. I won't talk too much crap. Oh, wait, you did. Hold on. We've got some more images. This came in 2 different emails. Oh, it just says reference photo. And second one, oil rendition. Any more information? Let's find out. Delia. You did not. You don't have a lot of information. So we're going to guess what your goals were. But honestly, this is super realistic. So I'm just being a jerk. I'm just talking crap for no good reason because you guys will see. I don't know why both of these came. So I think she said this was oil. Let me move. There's the reference photo. Okay. So here is what we've got. We've got the reference photo over here and the oil painting. First, let's talk about getting photos of your artwork. So when you photograph your artwork, if you want to take a photo in the frame and stage it, that is what I would recommend doing when you're posting online. I know I'm being nitpicky. I'm just saying this is something you can do that makes it look really cool. I mean, if we look at, this was partially, no, you boys go lay down. I've got 2 dogs looking, their heads down, looking up through the glass. Go lay down. You're not going to come in here. Tuna's out. Go lay down. Gibson, Gibson. Wade, lay down. They're completely ignoring me. Sorry, I have to yell because the doors are closed, but they're just going to stand there and stare. Anyway, I count that as begging, and we don't allow begging because that gets out of hand. But anyway, moving on. No one cares, Lisa. Let's use this as an example of staging. Oh, I lost my mouse again. Look at the photos. See how it's taken to where it's a little bit at least positioned, kind of, you can see the entire painting. I showed both edges because I wanted people to be able to see the stretch canvas, how that was. But it's, you know, there's nothing around it. It's the dark wood. I love wood when I stage photos. So this one's kind of not the greatest example of staging. Do I have anything else in here that's staged? No. Anyway, sorry, that's not helpful at all. Go back. But like staging things, you can make things look so amazing. That was not my best example. Put a plant next to it. Set it on a table where it's on an easel and there's maybe a plant and I don't know, do you have an accent wall? You can also pick up Amazon. If you look at photography backgrounds, you can get these cheap, like it could be wood grain, it could be anything you want, these cheap backgrounds that you can use to stage your artwork. So this is not, this just made me think of it. So I don't mean to be picking on you. This one was Delia. I'm apologize. I'm not trying to pick on you for this. I know I didn't tell you to stage your artwork for the critique, but it just made me think of this. So when you post your work online, if you can stage your artwork, you can take something that looks okay and make it look really, really good. Like, actually, I can show you an example. Let me show you the difference, even if it's just a straight on image versus once it's been edited. Oops, go back. That's not what I wanted to do. Give me 1 second here. It would be under live streams. If I knew the alphabet, this would be faster. L, where's L? There it is. The flower I just did would probably be an okay example. What was that under? Yellow flower. So this painting, which I need to put 1 more coat of varnish so I can ship it. Wait, did I put 2 coats? I need to go check. I think it only has 1 coat so far. So look at what happens. So here's just the image. It's okay. Look when it's staged though. Like you can make it, and this is staged because it's for a thumbnail, so it's a little bit different than what I would stage if I just wanted it to look good. But you can stage it. That used to be my shower curtain. Like it wasn't really a shower curtain. It was just fabric, like this gauzy curtain. I think I got it at like IKEA or something. So it was cheap, whatever it was. And yeah, it's pretty. And in this case, art supplies because it's thumbnail, but you can do art supplies or you could do a plant, or I keep going back to plants because that always looks great. You know, stuff like that. I have seen people use children's toys and it was kind of weird because it had nothing to do with art. I don't know why it was staged that way, but having some other elements that kind of add to is better than having something, at least like if you're going to post online, even just the image by itself. But in this case, with the artwork being at I know this doesn't help you with your artwork. That's not what you asked for. But anyway, just a quick tip. If you're going to take a photo of the artwork, that looks better. So I don't know what size this is. It said it was oil. It didn't really tell me a whole lot of anything. I do really like it. I'm assuming it's small. I think it's small. It didn't say, did it? I think it's small. But if, again, going back to the drawing, you're close. You're very close. But we could get more with the shading. Look at how dark this guy is here versus your, like, look, it's much, much lighter on yours. There's a lot of darkness here. The dark fades from dark. There's a gradient up to light. You've got it, but not as extreme. I would definitely go more extreme on yours with that gradient. If you can hype up your contrast, and this is one of the things if you're working small. So let's say you're working really large, you've got room for all the details, all the little feathers, everything like that. When you work small, I don't know what size this is. I'm going to guess it's small. When you work smaller, you don't have room for as much detail. You are completely dependent on your lights and your darks. And it will look amazing and super realistic if you get those lights and darks in there right. So even on this guy, like when I've got this photo is zoomed out, you know, so that it looks pretty small, I can't see all the little feathers. You don't need to include every little feather. But if we can get the darks a little bit darker, like look at right here, this part of the wing is separate. So it's dark, fades to light, and then when we get here again, dark, back up to light, versus this is very flat. We're missing that completely on this one. So that would be one example. And you're pretty close on this guy. Like he's super cute. I like him a lot. But let's see, like you've got the start of where the oranges go, but they're not dark enough. And that's really the case for the majority of this. I would just say most of it is not dark enough. We also have, look at how you've got straight here. You've got that, but we're missing, you've kind of got it. Look at that. It's a little there, but this is almost the same all the way through. Instead of over here where that's a little bit more defined, like these little shapes, and it's all the values. Your colors are fine. I mean, this one is more of a purpley gray. Yours is more of the greeny gray. Doesn't make a big difference as long as the values. That's what I'm saying. Values, not color. Focus on that. You've got things in about the right place. They just need, mostly it just needs the darks to be a little bit darker. I do love your eye. I think your eye looks so much better than the photo. I love how the shine on it that you created there. I love, like seriously, big improvement. Awesome job. Your background is beautiful. Use a little bit more paint. When you blended this out, I think your paint was a little bit on the thin side. And so I can kind of see your brushes is you were probably using a mop brush to brush that out. But I think if you went a little bit thicker, it would give you a slightly better look there on that background. But beautiful work there. Now, if you like the bokeh look, again, didn't tell me what you wanted, but if you like the bokeh look, one of the things you can do that I like to do with oils is take a paper towel, like get everything mostly in, take a paper towel and wipe up little circles, or Viva paper towel, not Bounty, not gonna work for you. Viva paper towel or old rag and wipe up circles, remove some of that, and that will pull that bokeh look in. Let it dry, and then glaze color to tint it to whatever you wanted in the background. That's how I get bokeh look. I need to do another lesson like that for you guys in oil paint. That is coming soon. Bokeh background, oil painting. I know I've done some, but we could do another one. It's really, really easy to do. One of the things on this one, I can see where you blended around the bird. So we've got this halo effect. Can you see how it comes straight through all of that? It goes right around the bird. When you're blending, make sure when you're doing a bokeh background that it looks like it goes straight behind it. You don't want it to look like it's outlining the subject. So that would be one tip. And again, thicker paint. And that means you're going to get some of that background as you're blending. It is going to blend onto the subject. You're just going to have to paint over it when it dries. So there we go. Those are my tips for that. This guy's super cute. I like the branch. I really like the change you made on the branch too. So your eye, I like so much better than the subject or than the reference photo. And I like this branch a lot. I like how you did the feet. I like your highlights on the legs. That's awesome. Here, I'd give him a little bit more fluff on his legs. They've got hairy legs just around the base. Ask Tuna. Yeah, I heard you flying over there, Tuna. He'll tell you. He's got hairy legs. Just right at this section. See how it's a little bit thicker right there? I would add that. You've got it on the other guy. But no, really good. Again, I think that branch was a huge improvement too. But great job. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Yeah, we hear you talking over there, Tuna. So we'll come back to these guys while I pull up the next set. Marie, it's a critical thing. Shoot. Let's see, on the bidding, why is that doing that? It does that sometimes for people. If you log out or make a new account, that might work. A tablet or a phone is usually the problem on that. You're having it tried both on Chrome and Edge. You're on your laptop. It shouldn't be, hold on. I mean, there's nothing I can do to change it. I don't know why it's not working right for you. I apologize. I tell you what, Marie, if you want that painting, I'm going to do this. No one else has bid, right? Hold on. Come on. Have there been any bids? I don't know why it does the critical error thing for people. Marie, do you want that painting for sure? If you do, let me know. I'm going to close this and I'll just send it to you. We'll do a PayPal. I'll have you pay for PayPal. We won't do it through the website, but let me know for certain you want it. You do want it? Okay, let me unlist this really quick. You now win for the sole purpose of, I feel really bad that the website is not letting you bid. So let me, hold on. The coyote is yours. I need to varnish it before I send it to you. Let me change that. Products, all products. You quick edit, draft. Okay, you got it for $125. I'm just not, I feel bad that that is doing that, and I've listed this guy once before and it didn't. It's yours. I'm not even gonna drama with the why it's dramaing. So we'll call that as auction is over. Let's see if it's gonna be a draft, so it's probably gonna give an error if anyone tries to look at it, but I'm really not sure how to make everybody happy in this case, but we'll count that as done, because, let's see. Oh no, it's still there. Crap, hold on. It didn't work. Give me 1 second. By 1 second, I mean several seconds. Oh, you guys are watching the fish anyway. Products, all products. WooCommerce, products. Can I just end this? Let's see what happens if I just do that. This is going to screw everything on that side up, but I don't know how else to I would say, well, if no one else bids, you can have it. That's not fair if you wanted to bid now. So it's like, I don't know how to, okay, so that's just gone. It's yours. I will send you. Do me a favor, Marie. Email me, lisa@lachri.com, because I need to get you, I'll send you a PayPal. I think you can pay on Stripe too. We'll figure it out. Email me and we will get that taken care of. Thank you for the sale. I'm glad he's getting a home. This is not, I'm talking and no one can see me because the fish. But yeah, email me, lisa@lachri.com, and I will get that for you. I'm sorry it wasn't letting people bid. Oh, I'm going to let a few of you bid. I'm going to start doing some more auctions. I don't know why it doesn't, I don't know what the problem is, why sometimes it doesn't. I apologize, but I'm like, there we go. So I'll do more. I think during the weeks I may start doing a few more auctions because I've got way too much stuff in my, where I store my paintings. So we'll get some more auctions going. I'll make some more deals for you guys coming up. Okay, let me pull up who is next. And I've got to, I don't even know how to figure, this is the problem when it's your own website. Like, I am technical support, and I don't know why it does that. I don't know why it just, and being that you were on the laptop, that made no sense. I don't know why. So we'll see. Okay, next we have from, this is Nikita. And let's see, let me save this. Well, this one's fun because it is right up my alley. Well, the birds obviously are too. You guys will see what I mean in just a moment. Okay. And where was I? Go back. So here is the image. So you see what I mean? Right up my alley. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. Those are succulents. You did succulents with a clownfish. Oh, this is something I would do because I always say succulents, they're like land corals. So that is awesome. So much I love. Okay, let's see what you said, and then we'll go from there. Let's see. I have a watercolor and colored pencil piece I did. This is an 11 by 16. I'm overall happy with it, but I do feel it is lacking something. So my idea with it was a bit of surrealism. I wanted life and vibrancy in the foreground with a stark emptiness, but I feel it may be too empty. Any suggestions? Okay, there we go. And you can find her Fine Art by Nikita on Instagram if you want to look her up. So let's take a look at this. Pull some stuff up. Okay. So, oh, I love this. And I think what we're missing is depth. That's it. You wanted the emptiness in the background, which I totally get. But two things. One, this area here, too short. Pull that down further, you know, get a little bit more. This is just so right up at the edge that it's not balanced well. Try to think, we talked about the rule of thirds earlier. So we've got, let's break this up. This is, I can't make straight lines, so whatever. But let's say we've got our thirds, something about like that. Don't take a tape measure to this, but we want our hot spots in one of these, which here we've got it. You 100% have it here. You might, I would say maybe pull this guy in a bit because it is so close to the edge. Let me see, making sure. Okay. So he's a little bit farther out to the side. I would probably pull him so he was a bit more here and then have things spilling out in this, you know, kind of going in both directions there. But just so that he was, again, filling in a little bit more, sticking with those the roll of thirds. But this is my area that I'm first a little bit, like, pull it closer. So it was a little bit down, like it's just too only up at the top. Too, like I was saying before, you want to be within an inch of the back, the edges, and yours is like, it's just the inch. That's it. It's so only there that is going to draw attention where it maybe isn't where you want it to be. So if you're going to pull that, if you're going to include these details, I would pull it a bit further down for sure. The next thing, this area in here is too yellow. you have no depth. If you want that to look like it's underwater, let me pull up another layer here, and let's do some changing on my brushes real quick. Oops, let's do opacity way down. So if we start pulling that out, push it back. And let's grab, I want to take the eraser and do a little bit. Right, went a little crazy on some stuff here. But that alone, look at the depth that that creates just by pulling. It changes everything there. And then the other thing that I would do is take some of the watercolor, not watercolor as in the paint, but as in the actual color, and start getting some of those in here. Let's get some of these shadows being, oh, that's the eraser. You can do it. There we go. Let's pull you down some. And opacity, yeah. So maybe pull some of these shadows, some of these in the background, a little bit darker blues. Pull some of the color from the water into those. So it makes everything feel like it's a part of the same scene instead of being cut out and pasted from something else completely. I mean, it's surreal, so you want it to feel obviously separate, but also the same. And just taking whatever color you used there and pulling that, look what a difference we can make. And these are just a few quick pencil strokes. So those would be two big ones. The clownfish, the white of the clowns, rarely going to be straight white. Let's pull those shadows, same thing. And I would pull the same colors that you're using here. Let's actually go more violets. Whenever I'm shading the oranges, I'm going to pull some of those violets in. Let's give him a little bit more shape. Pull that back out because I got a little crazy. But that will give you a lot more. Look at the difference. And this is just half done, like a half-baked thing of me just showing you. Imagine if you actually spent time. But you can create so much more depth. And this needs a lot more shading in through here with the blue of the water too. But don't go too crazy. I went a little too crazy there. We want some of that to really stand out. But yeah, a lot of depth. And then I think just pulling this over in a bit, I think it's a little too far to the edge. And you can even make him look further away by putting more of, oops, that's the wrong color, more of the blue. Kind of shove him back there a little bit. Now, this area in here, the stone area looks like stone. That's one area I'm not sure, was that supposed to be stone or was that supposed to be the way that water reflects on sand? Because those I would paint that very different. That is really, really stark. This looks like stonework. So if you were going for stone, you got it. If you were going for sand with the rays of the light up here showing through, I would change that. Another thing that you may want to do that I think would look really good. What is that under? Hold on. It's not that brush. Give me 1 second to find where I saved that. It was light. Was it under this one? No. I probably should freehand it and it'd be faster, but I'm not going to because I'm just on a mission now. Atmosphere. Okay, here we go. Dust, haze, light rays, 2 light rays. I don't know which light rays would look better, but not those ones. Maybe. Let's shrink you a bit though. And you would need to be white. But if you had a few, now it's harder to do in watercolor, but you can start getting, oops, let's make it stand out a little bit more. What if we had some rays of light coming down too? Like, look at the atmosphere change now. That versus what a difference that can make on a piece. So now you're in the water, you're underwater, and it gives it even a more surreal piece because it's obviously succulents instead of the coral. I love this concept, by the way. But yeah, those would be my adjustments on that one. really neat concept, really well done. Okay, next. Oops, I just closed the thing I needed because I'm a genius. Oh no, I'm good. This is from Yellowbird. It said watercolor and ink, what it needs something else. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, I didn't bring the fish back up. Whatever. I'm apparently not fancy enough tonight. Okay. Oh, this is cool. But yeah, I mean, watercolor and ink, it's going to be, it looks like it was, okay, let's talk about staging your art. This is first tip, staging your art. The fan, all this next to it. I mean, you knew you were going to be seen by everybody tonight. I would certainly stage it a little bit better just because it would look cool. But, you know, that's not the point of the critique. I guess kind of it is. I really like the way that you did these trees. I really like this. The mountains feel unfinished. They feel a little bit rushed. And it's a little bit odd that you've got so much detail in the trees. Whoops. The trees have so much detail on my brush. No, not rays of light. Go back. Hold on one second. I've got too many things open on the Elgato. Oh, I should have gone the other direction. There we go. There we go. The trees, I love the style you did on them, but you've got all of your detail is in your mid-ground instead of the foreground. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, it's not, this needs something here that it's like, it doesn't feel finished. It's as simple as that. This isn't finished at all. This is way too harsh. Like, why is that? That needs to be a definite, that should fade out. Like, you shouldn't have a definite line there. And I don't know where your reference photo is, so that can't, and you didn't send one at all, did you? Why does it say yellow? Oh, Yellowbird's the person. I'm thinking Yellowbird because the other artwork that was a Yellowbird. Yeah, there's nothing else that says anything for me. I don't have any reference or anything like that. So this is very harsh. This should certainly, you want that to fade out. You don't want, there we go. That should be some sort of a fade moving out. And then I would put, if you've got that much detail here, you need way more detail here. Like, this should have more detail than that does. And these look awesome. I love this look. I think you created such a cool texture. I want to see that up here too. And then the mountains are just too swipey. They don't fit with everything. It's just, again, it's just unfinished. I do like that you've got the more yellowy tones up here and more blue cooler values back there. That's good. That adds to depth for sure. But yeah, spend more time. It's not finished. It's a cool concept. And the texture you created in those trees is awesome. Okay. Almost done here tonight. We've got Kim. Let's see. So again, with the yellow, I would definitely use more oranges than yellows, orange and gold tones instead of the yellows on the ears. That would be my first bit of advice there. This guy is awesome. You did such a good job. I love the background that you did. I like the texture you created here. That is really good. The toes are a little wonky on the front paw, which obviously they're cut off on the reference photo, so that's going to make it very difficult for you to figure out what that should be. But yeah, I wouldn't go with yellow. I would go with orange. And the better thing, too, if you go with more oranges, you're up against blue, complementary colors. That's an instant win. It didn't say anything, did it? Hold on. I didn't read. It may have said something. I lost my mouse again. There it is. So this is a painting of my husband's boss's dog, Presley, and the reference photo. I used Liquitex acrylics. Okay. Oh, I like the background. So my few things I would change, there's not a ton. One, yellow. I don't use yellow. Two, this is really close to that bottom edge, like really close. You don't need to be that big, like right at that edge. So again, within an inch. Either go off the page or be within an inch. And then with feet, I don't even like them that low. Like it's too close to that bottom edge. So I would shrink this or make it bigger. You could even crop it to where it would have been like the upper portion of the body and not done this area at all would have been an option. So you had a few things there, but I definitely would not go that close to the bottom edge. Man, I love that background. And I love how you faded from the dark. I like the shadow under the dog. I like the detail you created in the chest. I would say you've got more hair texture than I would do. The individual hairs, I would not go, it makes them look more like a rough or a wire coat versus a German Shepherd mix of some sort, I guess. But they're going to have a more downy, like it's not quite as rough as a wire coat. And when you put too much detail in the coat, it starts looking wiry. So you've got a different fur texture type. They're all going in the right direction. Like it looks good the way you've done it. I would just soften that out. I wouldn't put so much harsh detail there. And I understand why you included it. I would just tone that down. The next thing that I would do differently is add a lot more blue. And you can see that here. Look at how much blue is along the face, along the chest. You've got blue in the background. Pull that into yours. Like that's a huge, like you can totally take advantage of that there. Get blues in there. So we were talking earlier, white isn't white. It's going to pick up all these other colors unless it's overexposed. And even this photo where it's kind of overexposed because you're taking a photo, kind of bright light, midday type thing, you still have all of these blues. Darken that up, pull those blues into the subject, for sure. But your angle is good, your drawing is good. I would, yeah, switch yellow for your more golden orange tones. Nothing's first, with rare exceptions, not yellow. And get more blues in there and soften. I wouldn't go as harsh with the actual bits of fur, but nice work. Love that background. Okay. We'll pull the fish up while I grab one more. Advertiser is not active. What is going on? Hold on. I'm curious. Let's see. The Lachri Dolphin Soul, that's a pack I bought, a brush pack that I bought. The advertiser is not active when I click that link. What link? Yes, Hannah, it was for patrons only for today's critique. Was that the link? Hold on. Oh, I should not have clicked what I just clicked. Was I okay? Oh, no, I was okay. No, the Patreon link works. I don't know what is going on. Okay, let's move back onto... Oh, the link for Photoshop. Okay, I probably have to redo my affiliate link. I'll have to figure that out. It should work, but I copied it. It's an older one, so it may need me to refresh it. So that's probably what's going on. Okay, let's finish these guys up. We got a couple more minutes. We've got from let's see. This is from Marie. I hope I'm not too late for tonight's critique. You're barely in time. I would really appreciate your honest feedback on how I can improve. The art is of my late mother-in-law. I did for my husband the year she passed, so it was also my first attempt with colored pencils. Yes, I dove straight into the deep end. Yes, you did. My goal is to honor her and give my husband a good memory. I hope to capture her likeness without messing up too much. Maybe that was a narrow goal, but that's what it was. My struggles. Getting the lights light enough. Actually, let me download these so you guys can see what we're looking at. Now this is, we got all the goals here. Lots of information. Let me grab you, and where is the art? You, whoop, and you, nope. My brain is done for the night. I apologize. Okay. So here is the artwork and the reference photo. Okay, let's go back to reading now. Okay, my struggles. Getting the lights light enough and the darks dark enough. This was terrifying, and I was certain I would mess it up. I had a very tough time making the skin look alive and healthy and not flat zombie. That's a good way to word problems that we often have with skin. The background was a bit of a challenge to make it look natural. The original piece was taken inside with a flash, and I wanted to paint her outside with flowers. I had an incredibly difficult time with the paper. I just thought it stopped accepting pencil far sooner than I'd hoped. I don't think I was pushing too hard, but maybe I was. You see Caran d'Ache pencils and Strathmore Bristol Smooth. There was your problem right there. And it's been over the year. Yeah, the Bristol Smooth, terrible paper for colored pencils. I used to use it, and I quickly realized I hate it. With a passionate, like, it's terrible. The Bristol Smooth, I wouldn't toss it. I mean, you could, even graphite, it's too smooth. I don't like it. It's just too smooth, and so it's very hard to get your darks dark enough because it is so smooth, you can't get as many layers. So this was not something you did wrong, 100%. The paper with my techniques, everything ends up not quite as bold as what I want it to be. Is it usable? Yes. Will I keep using it? No. So yeah, that's probably part of it. Too smooth. So let's come over here. And yeah, and so because that was an issue, that was going to be hard for you. The background is pretty. Your pencil strokes were a bit messy. So one of the things, and you've done a great job, you started with a solid, like your lines look very accurate. So I think that started out really well. Yeah, you're pretty good on this. Very close. Not exact, but close. Also, did it say what size you did this on? Because this feels small, which I don't like for portraits. But your pencil strokes, I can see you doing this. See these little loop-de-loo circles? It's never going to be smooth if you do that. They need to be solid. Not this, where I can see the loop-de-loos. Light hand and solid. Everything's filled in. No little holes. Because you're never going to go back and fill all the loop-de-loo holes. We also, part of this, were too straight. And what happens, see these harsh start and stop points? That's what happens when you go back and forth like this versus softer circles where you're really filling that in more. So that is what happened with the background, why you're not in love with that. But I like what you did as far as the color choice. I think that worked out great. And I know you said it was taken indoors with a flash. I would still do that. I would really lighten those up. Your darks are dark enough, your lights aren't light enough in that case. But then when we get to the face, your darks are not anywhere, like those need to be quite a bit darker. So you're very, very close. Lips are way, like this is a good example. The lipstick, even though, yeah, she's wearing lipstick, it's too dark for how light her skin is. And we can pull up to really compare skin tones. So let's say like the lighter part of her skin is going to be here. And yours actually where it's lighter is darker. You've got it lighter here. Yeah, it's kind of light, but it's not exactly in the right place. Look at how much darker we can go there. But then we go into the darker, and that's the difference there is pretty huge. And then I know you said you were having a hard time with that because the paper was like, nope, I've had enough of this. Oops, that's not what I'm trying to do. Okay. So those would be some advice, or a bit of advice there. The other thing, look at the makeup that she's got around her eyes, this golden brown. That's really going to be the same as the shadows around her face. I would definitely do that, and that's going to make her eyes look bigger. I mean, if you wear makeup, I don't know if you do. I do. My eyes are not big. I'm making them big and pulling them out with makeup, and that's what she's done here. So your eyes are drawn right, but because the makeup isn't pulling it out, it actually makes her eyes look a little bit smaller. Again, they're drawn right. They look about right to me. The makeup is missing. The shadows that would pull them out, we can pull that out. Eyebrows don't need to be quite that dark. I would go a little bit lighter on that. I like that you didn't put too much on the lines here. I would definitely not overdo that. So you did a good job keeping that light. But again, I would go ahead and add some of those shadows. Yeah, the flash is not my favorite, but it also is going to give you a little bit more dimension that you're not getting. This one is more flat. So like here, we've got a definite shadow here. and you've kind of got it, but your shadow is more like this. See the difference in that? And it's not that she doesn't have an area that goes in like that. She does. I can see what you're looking at here, but that's not the same as this. This is the one shadow. This is completely a different color. Whereas right now, see how that's all the same? We want to pay attention to little things like that. Again, you did a great, you were a beginner to portraits. You're not doing bad. That's for dang sure. Like seriously, great work. Oh, look, you got the super shine on that. I want to see that on the hat too. Good job there. But yeah, and going with the flash certainly made things more difficult than anyone really wants it to be. The necklace isn't finished. Yeah, definitely defined the necklace a little bit more because right now it's just a little yellow glob there, and you want to get shadows with your purples around the yellow glob to make it look like gold. Yeah, you're in it. I would do this again on another piece of paper for sure, because that paper is so limiting. But even if we go through here, look at how your pencil strokes, I can see all your pencil strokes. Part of that's the paper, but part of that is like, these are not pencil strokes I would ever make. Well, no, I take that back. I do make lots. I call them sloppy or lazy pencil strokes when I do it. And it is, but if you're using Derwent Lightfast and you're using a good paper, like the Arches Hot Press is my go-to, blends right out. Derwent Lightfast blends so easily. Now, if I'm using my polychromos, then I'm going to be going with my smaller little circles and filling that in more solid as I work. None of the loop-de-loos, none of the straight lines, because those all end up showing, and we really typically want to avoid that. So those are my tips for you on that one. I think, hold on, how many were there? So the other critiques came in late. This is, how long is this? We're already at 10:05. Yeah, those ones came in after the live stream started, so those will have to wait. I'm going to move that to another. Next time I do a challenge. So whoever sent the adorable goat, which is super cute, but I'm not going to show you because it's already 10:05, and that did come in after the live stream started. So we'll go ahead and hang on to that. Thank you guys so much for joining for this. And these tips aren't like, I'm not the end all of art advice. These are just the bits of advice I would give to my own, like if I was working with you one-on-one in person and you're going for realism, these are the bits of advice I would give you. And I think that's it. Marie, email me if you haven't already, so I can get that painting for you. And watch for it. I'm going to start doing some more auctions and try to clear out my closet. And I'm not big on art sales because then people don't buy things at full price. So like, I only do some of the smaller stuff. I'll do sales usually. So, but I'll put a few auctions up. I'll post on Instagram and MeWe when I do, maybe Facebook. No one sees anything I post on Facebook, so whatever. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you to everyone who was so brave, Dolphin Soul wasn't one of them, for submitting your artwork for critique. And I think that's it. I know I'm not answering questions like I normally do because this is just can you tell I'm tired? My eyes are like, you've been looking at that screen way too close, way too long. But yeah, that's it. I don't know what we're doing next week. I'll have to let you know. I'm in the process of rebuilding my Bearded Dragons tank, so my studio's like a hot mess for filming. That'll be fun. Maybe we'll do another critique. I don't know if there's enough who still want more. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you next Wednesday. Well, I'll be posting online, obviously, social media in the meantime, and also in Discord. If you're not already in Discord, I just posted a new updated link, and a few of you have been asking what Discord is. You don't have to join it if you don't want to. It's just chat room. It's just, actually, I'll show you what it looks like. Hold on, I can pull it over on the screen. Wait, I don't have, yeah, I can open it. Give me 1 second. We're gonna wait while it opens. It's thinking. It's getting there. It's taking forever. Okay, let's see. Where's our chat? I'll show you what our chat looks like over on this. So it's just a little window that you download the app. You can do it on your phone too. And this one. This is my little chat window. And we just chat. We've got a one for general. We have works in progress. We had finished paintings, pet photos, plants, books, and TV shows that we watch or movies or whatever, where we can discuss that. Art tips, reference photos that everyone has been sharing with other artists that can use that. So we've got different chat rooms. Somebody earlier suggested one for sketchbooks, so we may add that. I don't want to get too many rooms. It gets kind of a bit much, but it's fun. It's just somewhere where more artists can chat, more like-minded individuals. No politics. We're keeping that. We want everyone to actually like everybody, so we don't go into that. But this is basically the same rules we have in our public art groups, but this one is just for Discord, and that's where I spend more time hanging out and chatting with people, although I have this weekend because I've been obsessively working on the Bearded Dragon tank. But anyway, those who have asked what Discord is, it's a chat thing. You don't have to use it. If you don't want it, totally optional. It's just a fun option for those on Patreon. So anyway, that is it, and I will see you guys next week. Where are my I don't know what buttons are which. I think that one.
You. Yes, you. I see all your unused art supplies over there. Oh my god, those brushes aren't even opened yet. Tragic. You keep buying new fancy materials, but you don't use them because you don't want to waste them. Stop making your art supplies sad. Sign up for art lessons for as little as $4 a month. There are over 300 painting and drawing lessons available when you sign up, and new ones every week. Patreon.com/Lachri.